Now in today's video we're going to be diving into some more Path of Exile 2, and no doubt I'm a little bit late to the punch with this one as I was supposed to cover it a few weeks back, but hopefully this will help out a few people, especially if they're only purchasing the game upon its full release. So for this video I'm going to be going over absolutely everything you need to know about breaches, what they entail, how you can get the most from them, and pretty much everything you need to know on what I believe is one of the best aspects that you'll be running on endgame. So for anyone that doesn't know, breaches, when you hit your mapping and you're doing your kind of endgame areas, breaches are going to be this symbol just here, looking like a grasping hand with a kind of purple backdrop going on. Remember, if you're unsure of what any of these mean in your maps, then you can always go over to your map legend and it will tell you exactly what's going on. What you're going to do, you're going to go into your map, you're going to run it as normal, but then as you start covering the areas, eventually you're going to get to one of these right here, which is going to allow you to go into a breach. When these breaches happen, there will be an absolute abundance of monsters trying to get you, and a lot of times this is really going to help you out to get extra loot, extra drops in general, and as well as that, going over some of these clasping hands can help you to get some breach splinters that you can turn into currency or change into a breachstone if you have a whole bunch of them. Now in order to get the most from when you're running your breaches, you'll want to make sure you have a little look at your atlas, and then you're going to have a look at your twisted domain tree. In here you'll be able to upgrade a whole bunch of nodes, and you're going to be able to acquire 8 skill points overall that you can put into this tree in order to make it even better and get yourself more loot whenever you're running these breaches. However, you don't get this quite as simple as that. You don't just run the breaches and it automatically upgrades. Instead, what you're going to want to focus on is trying to get yourself as many breach splinters as possible, because you're going to need 300 of these in order to get yourself a breachstone. If you can't get it this way, don't forget you can also purchase it. If you want to go over to Alva and trade for it with currency instead, then you can purchase it that way, or 300 splinters also condenses straight down into a breachstone as well. Once you have got it, you're going to go over to your map, and then you're going to want to go back to wherever your starting area was, and remember, even if you're not entirely sure, you can always use your shortcut, click on the home icon and it will take you back to the very starting area of where you were mapping. Then, just to the right of it, you're going to see this just here. It's going to look like a glowing portal. This is going to be your realm gate, and this is going to be the area where you were able to put your breachstone into. In here you're going to go straight into the twisted domain, and it's going to be an absolute awesome, and a little bit like the breaches you've seen earlier, but this time you're going to be on a timer and you're going to be making your way through the map, tearing through all the enemies and trying to make sure you stay close to the front as possible. Remember, you don't want the timer to run out, so try to get through in a nice timely fashion, taking out the enemies and walking through the clasp hands whenever possible. With this, the main difference is going to be that there's no loot dropping on the floor, so you don't have to worry about clutter, you don't have to worry about losing any time trying to pick things up, because once you get further into the map and you get to the very last stages, you're going to get all of your drops on the floor right here. Look through it, see if there's anything that you like. There can be some nice goodies if you've had a good run, and especially a whole bunch of breach rings, which you may well be lucky enough to turn into something nice when you're rolling with your currency. After that, however, you're going to move on to the next area. This is going to be the final stage, when you take on the boss, Zesht Weed R1. Now, depending on your build and how powerful your character is, you may be able to nuke this, or you may want to play a little bit tactically, but remember, he goes up in power depending on which stage you're taking him on, so the first one is generally quite easy. When you defeated him, you're going to look through his drops, and hopefully there'll be a few nice things on the floor that you'll be able to pick up and either equip or sell on the trade in order to make more currency for yourself overall. One of the main things you want to pick up though is going to be this book right here, as this is going to allow you to get extra points into your domain skill tree, and every single one of these you use is going to allow you to allocate 2 extra skill points, with the maximum you can allocate being 8 in total. Now remember, every time you're using one of these breachstone and you're making your way through the map, ultimately trying to make it all the way to Zesht, each time you're going to be after that book of knowledge in order to upgrade your atlas tree once more. Every single time you do this, however, when you're implementing the skill points, you'll also be affecting it by upgrading its difficulty. One other thing to note, if you forget to actually put these skill points into that tree, then when you do beat Zesht, unfortunately you won't get a book drop, so make sure you upgrade it every single time you get one. Now there's been a few changes to this in a recent update, and now if you're defeated by Zesht or you lose on the run up to him, rather than it being an instant fail, you'll actually get a few attempts at this. But depending on how many actual skill points you've invested in the domain and just how difficult it is, so if you make it all the way up to tier 4, you'll have less attempts than you would if it was at a lower level, and you're only going to have 2 tries in total. Another nice feature about running this area is also going to be some of the drops that you can acquire. These can range from quite niche drops that aren't actually that sought after or worth a lot, such as the Pandemonious Lapis Amulet, all the way to ones that can actually be best in slot and are worth quite a lot of divines overall, such as the Hand of Wisdom and Action 30th Wraps. I'll chuck everything on screen that can drop within this instance, and some of them are definitely worth knowing about. Now remember, you can put these points however you want or refund them if you find necessary, but I'm going to show you 2 ways that I find best overall. The first way is going to see you heading just up this path just here, all the way to Frantic Invasion, as this is going to help you pick up more breach splinters from your enemies defeated. Make it all the way up to the top for Rising Pyre, as that's going to give you 40% extra density of your monsters. Then you want to head over to Crumbling Walls, as this one's just absolutely amazing, as with a bit of luck, you're going to have much more breaches spawning within your instances. Interdimensional Assault is going to help you to have more density once more, but make sure you've got a powerful and fast build going on, as the breaches are going to open and close a little bit faster than normal. The other setup I've been using recently, which I actually found overall to probably be the best, especially if you're using a lot of clasp hands whenever you're using your tablets, and that's going to be Crumbling Walls again. Then you want to go over and pick up Frantic Invasion, and then finally you're going to make it all the way over on the left hand side, and then you're going to pick up Grasping Hands, and then make your way all the way up to Waking Nightmares. This means you're going to have a lot more breach splinters dropping from any clasp hands you're encountering, and as well as that, they're often going to be guarded by a whole bunch more monsters. Some other nice things that you can pick up when you're running these breaches or using those breachstones is going to be things like your catalysts. These are absolutely amazing and something you'll definitely be using, as they're going to actually upgrade the quality of certain items that you can equip, namely your amulets and your rings. Obviously these come in different types, and depending on your build and the class you're playing, you'll be using them to upgrade the quality of these items. Another thing a lot of people will be using will also be your breach rings. Unlike normal rings that can only be upgraded to 20% quality, these can go all the way up to 50%, meaning with the right rolls these things can be an absolute beast and can often have more of those sought after stats you're after, for example a very high amount of mana. As with a lot of what you're doing at the end game when you're doing your mapping, I would say waystones are definitely something you want to invest in, and make sure you're using the right ones whenever possible. High amounts of monsters, high amounts of quantity of items, which is probably one of the main things you want to focus on, as well as a little bit of rarity, can really help you out to get the most out of these breaches. Quantity of items really does start to shine through, as it also affects the breach splinters. Remember, if you do need to affect these yourself and you want to change a few things up or make them a little bit more powerful, don't forget you can always use some of your distilled emotions in order to power them up a little bit further. These are obviously gained from your delirium encounters, but can help you to put modifiers on your map in order to help you get better drops. Distilled guilt is good for your monster pack size, distilled ire is good for increasing magic monsters, disgust can really help you out if you're trying to get hold of a lot more precursor tablets, or of course paranoia to give you increased percent of rare monsters, or greed to give you enhanced rarity. Last but definitely not least, if you're running through your breaches and you find them a little bit underwhelming, you're thinking what's the point of these, I'm not really getting much from them, then remember it's all about your setup. Running them normally can be quite nice, but ultimately if you want to get the absolute most from them, you're going to want to set them up by going through certain maps, unlocking your towers as you go, and then you're going to want to use a nice amount of breach precursor tablets that hopefully have some good stats on them on some overlapping towers within. Try to set yourself up with at least 4 towers in a certain area, or even more if you can. 5 or 6 is absolutely amazing. For your tablets, the thing you 100% want to aim for is going to be your item quantity, as this is just going to help out with your drops within those areas, and like I said, it can help out with your breach splinters. And one of the best things I've found, if you can manage to get hold of these, is going to be anything with clasping hands. Remember, these breach splinters sell for a pretty penny, usually around about 1.5 equals 1 exalted orb, so if you're able to make the most out of these, you can get some currency very fast this way. If you can manage to get hold of item quantity and extra clasp hands within these breaches, you're absolutely laughing, as this all stacks up. And if you're very lucky and you're able to purchase or you're able to get hold of a few of these rare tablets with plus percentage chance for an extra breach spawning, then this will work out absolutely ideal and can really help you to net a massive amount of profit this way. Overall, with the right setup, you're going to go from only a few splinters dropping and a little bit of loot to gaining absolutely loads. I've managed to get myself over 150 splinters very often this way, and quite a few times also over 200. In the background here you're going to see just how good this is, and of course with an additional bit of luck you may even get yourself a nice divine drop. Personally, for myself, I find breaches to be the best overall way to run maps at endgame, as they're very fun, frantic, and like I said, with the right setup you can get yourself an absolute abundance of loot, splinter drops, and are just able to make a whole bunch of currency whilst playing the game and not spending too much time trading and such. But yeah, hopefully I've managed to cover anything and haven't missed anything out. If there's anything I have, chuck it in the comments. As always, there's going to be a lot more content away from me, but for now, take care, I'll see you on the next day.